Good day, college football fans. Welcome to Vegas Legends Winners Circle special edition for college pro. Excuse me. They're more or less pros out there. We're talking about the college professional championship, NCAA, the top four teams now down to, well, there will be four teams by the end of this week. There's 8 altogether. I have a very special combination of handicappers with it this week. We're going to give you analysis and find out how professional sports handicappers approach games. And we don't always come from the same place either. And of course, I have the legend out of Las Vegas, Mr. Vegas himself, Jim Feist, with us. A very special appearance because Jim normally only does pros. But Jim, right here with these big games on the line and the big money out there, I know you wanted to be a part of it. So welcome to the show for the college edition. I know we have you every week with the pros, but welcome to the college edition.
Thank you, Chipper. I appreciate it.
All right, Jim, and glad to have you. And I don't know if this is the first time you've been working with my friend Scott Pritchard. And Pritchard is one of the leaders in Las Vegas, to all of you out there, if you haven't seen the show before, at the Golden Nugget and other contests in Las Vegas, a big-time player who's holding a wonderful ticket right now. What have you got for us, Scott? We heard you talking about it before. You've got a ticket that looks like it's ready to cash, though you can't count you don't count it until you've actually got the ticket in your hand and you're at the window collecting.
I broke the cardinal rule. You never talk about a ticket that hasn't cashed just yet. But you were with me, Chip, VIP area of circa a few short weeks ago. What a difference a few short weeks make. I could see when you bet a future, it's kind of like a puzzle. You have to see it before it happens. It's applicable to everyday sports betting as well, seeing something before the rest of the world does. I showed you the ticket, $12,000 plus 175 on the Denver Broncos to make the playoffs. And right now, all they have to do as a double-digit favorite at home against the Chiefs, KC will be playing their cheerleaders and Carson Wentz, which should mean an easy winner for Denver, and that will get back around $33,000 to make it holla. So I'm pretty happy about that. And one thing Jim Feist and I talking about off air was the fact that the Chiefs, they want nothing to do with this game. They are resting their starters. This is a team that just played 3 games in 10 days. Now they're going to have 19 days off. And I told everybody at the Sportsbook a few days ago, gentlemen, that the Chiefs will not play anybody in this game because the last thing any team in the AFC wants to see is Cincinnati in the playoffs. So they're not going to do the Bungles any favors by pulling off an upset here. So book it here. Kansas City loses and loses convincingly against the Denver Broncos.
But the thing is here, I hope Jim comes back to us real soon. He's had a double-digit favorite here over Kansas City. So obviously there's shenanigans going on, or let's put it this way, some people are going to make sure they're healthy in the playoffs. I want to ask you guys, before we did analysis of the Big Four games, Jim, welcome back. And before we do analysis of the Big Four games, I was wondering what kind of impressions you got from the bowl games we've already seen. I know there were 3 big things that I came out of it, and I was wondering if you garnered anything. As you know, if it went to Hoyle or what you were surprised about. Jim, what impressed you most about what we've seen so far?
Well, I think it started off, we had some chalk. And now the Dogs are starting to fight back a little bit. We had some points, a lot of points. And I see some points in these games we're going to talk about here today as well. So it's kind of, we're getting down to the cream rises to the top, and we're going to see a little bit more. It's kind of like in the NFL as well. You've got 10, 11 teams that really are not that very good. And you see some of the, like yesterday, there was so many mismatches and points, like 45-7 and 39-2 and all kinds of. You see the same thing in college to some degree. It's a different game, of course. But when you have disparity and you don't have parity, you're going to have that.
All right. Yeah. Scott, I was very impressed with BYU. I mean, they smacked that Colorado team around. I mean, they dominated the line of scrimmage defensively, offensively. They just looked like the much better team. And I was also impressed with Navy after falling down the way they did to Oklahoma, ready to go down 21-0 virtually. Big stand, and then end up winning the game in the long run. They showed character. They showed depth. And they showed the fact, I think, Scott, what happens when you have players that stay and work together as opposed to having people leaving for the portal or to work out for the pros. And we've got a few of those situations coming up, but not in the big games we're going to be talking about. Did you catch anything else out there with the game we've already seen?
I did, and I have a couple of strong opinions, and I want to commend you for bringing up the fact that BYU, because on this show last week, I was all over BYU plus the 4 points mean more than opinions. I like teams that play defense, and Colorado only rushing 70 yards per contest. So that was a winner steak and lobster dinner. And then to your point with Navy, this is something I just posted on social media before the game took place. I said, you must do your due diligence this time of year because of the transfer portal, because of players opting in, opting out. You know, you had Oklahoma with 25 players not playing. The line opened 9. It was bet down. I played +6, okay? But some people might say, well, why would you take +6? You could add +9. And I simply say, because I want to get confirmation on the confirmation, okay? I don't want to suffer from paralysis by overanalysis. But again, +6 beats the closing number of -1, which is what ultimately it closed at, and it fell 21-20. Coincidence? I think not.
All right, thank you, Scott. You know, Jim, there was another big game out there, Connecticut beating North Carolina. We have Belichick coming in for the Tar Heels next year. But, you know, I heard on VSiN on their radio show that teams that with interim coaches that were in a coach's league before the bowl games are just a disaster. UNLV, I think, broke a 12-game losing streak when they won this year, but it comes right back, and we have this situation again. Connecticut beats North Carolina, and I think everyone was all over North Carolina. It's been a great weekend for us here. Did you see anything else out there, Jim?
Well, you're talking about ACC, 0-10 ATS.
There you go.
I mean, what does that tell you? I mean, it's pretty obvious. The writing's on the wall. It's on the wall, pretty weak league. And when you come 0-10 against the number, come on. It tells you what you need to do. I mean, they got to upgrade. Now, you're getting Belichick going there, and you're getting Michael Lombardi as the GM. And how many teams in college have GMs? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but you need them now, Jim. Things are so different, and they got to change this portal date for sure. I mean, we'll discuss that at some other time. But
which is why I backed off of a lot of the college this year and did some people that spent 24 hours a day just doing that, so I could focus on the pros. And it's been a good year because of that. Because you can't do everything, and when they're switching up the conferences, and we got portal and nil and all that stuff going on. You just can't keep up with everything. Then you throw in the baseball and the basketball. I mean, how many hours in the day? I only get 24. I don't know if anybody gets more than that. Scott might get 36. He could. He wins a lot.
And you know, I mean, there's just so many hours we can put in, and we have no sample size when the teams are moving to new conferences, and you go from 18. I mean, it's just. I think there's got to be major changes, but we've seen some great football. And by the way, everyone out there, this is Vegas Legends Winner Circle Special College Edition for the NCAA Championship. I've got Jim Feist and I've got Scott Pritchard, two of the best handicapping minds in all of Las Vegas. This site has them all. And give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Hey, you know, might be able to let your friends know we're out here as well, because I'm sure they'd like to garner some of the information that we have for you. And we're going to start with it right now. We got a game Friday night, Jim. And I find it amusing that the seeded team here is over 11-point underdog. We have Penn State playing Boise State. Of course, Penn State at 12-2 has only lost twice. They lost to Ohio State and Oregon. Jim, Boise getting points. They're 12-1. It seems kind of funny to me that if they had lost to UNLV, they wouldn't even be in this mix, and yet they get a bye.
Well, you got an issue here with this, and everybody knows about what they talk about, SOS, strength of schedule. There's no question that Penn State deserves to be favored because of the strength of schedule, the type of teams, the quality of teams that they've faced throughout the year. Mountain West teams don't get a lot of credit. When they come in, it's a weak league, but the Mountain West in an ATS situation is a big dog, a sizable dog. They're 10-2 in that situation. So even though, I mean, you can only play the teams that show up on this other side of the field. So in that case, they have done pretty well. I'm talking about the Mountain West and Boise. I mean, they've got talent. They got a great running back. We got talent. You know, it's not going to be. And then, you look on the other side, Penn State, the head coach has not had a great record in big games where he has to step up. Now, that doesn't mean he can't do it here.
Right.
They got Singleton and Allen, and it's versus Yenti. It's going to come down to who can control it and doesn't turn the ball over. It's like any football game. But strength of schedule favors Penn State. The number's too high, double-digit favorite. Yeah. I'm on the dog. I'm on the dog for sure.
Scott, both these teams lost to Oregon. And Boise played them early in the year, gets beat 37-34. And Penn State later in the year loses 45-37. And I think in that game, Oregon pretty much was in control, although it's only a one score difference in the final. Penn State and Boise State. Boise State has an All-American running back and just a hair off the Heisman, but Penn State has got to contain him to be able to cover this number.
Well, good luck. No one's been able to contain this stud horse the entire year, and I'm going to ride this guy all the way to the stable. This guy has 2,500 rushing yards, 29 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? 29 TDs, 2,500 rushing yards. Now, to your point, they have a common opponent. Oregon, number one, number two in the entire country, 37-34. It was a coin toss. It was early in the year. Boise State lost. They rattled off 10, 12 straight consecutive wins. And something that no one talks about when you look at this game, and I'm with Jim. Okay, Jim Feist speaks, I listen, and it would advise our viewers to listen. This guy is a living legend. He's been doing this for decades. What I can do, Jim can do better. I've been in Vegas for 31 years. Feist has been doing it for 55 years. That is a long time. Hope he doesn't mind me sharing that. But I have to tell you, Boise State defensively, they're number 2 in the nation in sacks. So they do a good job applying pressure to the opposing team's quarterback. So I'm with Jim as far as taking the game that he gave out, but I'm looking at the total. For this contest. I like under, and the reason is looking at Boise State, they're going to have to do what they can to ball control it, keep Penn State's offense and their skilled players on the sidelines for this game. So I think even if Penn State is up, let's say 7 to 10 points late, they're going to be playing the scoreboard. They're going to look to eat the clock, shorten the game. Right. And Boise State, again, under 53. I think that's my play, under.
Well, E.F. Hutton over here has Boise State, and you're playing the under. And I looked at this number, and I saw this game, and the first thing I thought about was, that's a big number. That's a large number, and it's difficult to lay, I think. I think it's difficult to lay that points there, and it'd be interesting. Boise's always come and seem to rise to the occasion. I'm just wondering if now that everyone is aware of Boise, they ambushed Oklahoma about a decade ago, and they've sort of been on the scene ever since. And I just wonder if they're a little too popular, because years ago there would have been no problem taking Boise. I'm afraid of that Penn State defense here. I'm not afraid of their offense that much. All right, let's move on to the next game, guys. And another double-digit seeded team we have here, and I was impressed with this team the entire year, and I'm surprised that Arizona State is getting double digits. Sean, I'll start with you. Texas is playing Arizona here, and Arizona State, that is, and the Sun Devils had an amazing turnaround off a 3-win season last year, and they've really played some great football. They beat BYU, and they beat Kansas State.
Well, I look at this game, I'm very intrigued. I'm a big Texas fan because I love teams that play defense. Texas, they're world beaters. They've lost not once, twice. It's a matchup problem, the fact that Texas lost twice to a very good Georgia team. But when I look at this Texas team, as good as they are, they're so deep, they're so talented. How deep, how talented? I'm glad you asked. Their backup quarterback is some guy named Manning. Are you kidding me? So I look at this team, they can run, they can pass, they play great defense. They're 12-2, they're 8-6 versus the point spread. I'm talking about Texas. And defensively, people lie, numbers don't. They've held 4 of their last 5 opponents to less than 100 yards rushing. That's the good news for Texas. The bad news for Texas, they're playing a team that is not only 11-2, but they're 11-2 versus the number. This team, Arizona State, they were picked. That's why I don't listen to media. I listen to Chip Chirimbes and Jim Feist. I do not listen to anyone else. Here's why. The media picked this team to finish last in the division, in the conference, and they won the conference. This team 11-2, but 11-2 against the number. Good offense, weak defense. 53 touchdowns this team has scored. The bad news is defensively, they've given up 2,800 passing yards. But if Texas is up 7, 10 points late, they're not going to be passing. Again, they're going to be playing the clock. My play for this contest, you'd never bet on a trend to end. 11-2 versus the number. That's all you need to know. Arizona State plus the points. See the cashier.
I like it, Sean. I really do. I have a sentimental attachment to this Arizona State team, particularly this year. So I've been, riding their coattails all season long. And Jim, Sun Devils actually came out from nowhere, sort of like the Phoenix out of the desert, I guess we would say. And here they are hosting Texas as a double-digit underdog.
You and Scott were 100% right. This team was, the media, like Scott said, picked them last. I mean, they're 7-0 as an underdog. The Sarkisian 8-15-1 against good teams against the spread. Yeah. That's not really enticing. You got a double-digit dog that's played very well. Now, granted, there's a reason they're favored. There's a lot of talent on the Texas team. However, when that talent continually fails in the position that they're supposed to succeed, I think Scott's right. You just don't bucket. It's the way it is. Arizona State has been a surprise. They got a great running back. How do you say that? Scatterboo? Pretty damn good. The Arizona State defense is going to have to step up, and they're going to have to control the ball a lot. But you getting that kind of points, 13, 12, whatever it is, whatever you can get out there, 13, maybe even find 14. I'm on the dog here.
Jim, I agree with you 100% on this, and I hope it's more than just sentiment that has me back in the Sun Devils. But I watched them this year. I've seen them a number of times. They hit hard. They play hard. And the fact that they beat BYU, I saw BYU just annihilate Colorado. I have to be on this Arizona State team thinking that they can keep it close. And I love their quarterback. He's a gamer. They come to play. And I think they'll be ready here for this game. I think Texas has to be careful. I do fear Texas defense. I certainly do, because it's one of the top in the nations for sure. All right. You're seeing one of the top analysis in the nation right now from gamblersworld.net. And we are the Winner's Circle Legends of Las Vegas. And we're doing a college edition for the NCAA championship. Guys, you got to give us a like. And you know what they should be doing, Sean and Jim? Each morning right here, we have Sean Higgs that hosts a Gamblers Winner's Circle show from gamblers.net. And we have Mark Lawrence, myself, Matt Fargo, Doug Upstone, a number of other top handicappers. As a matter of fact, we have the best staff in any website in the country. I guarantee it. We have more champions, we have more winners, and we have more high-profile Vegas players. So log on, follow the buy links, get to gamblersworld.net, and become a big-time winner like the guys we have in this show every week. And Jim, this is a big one for me. I'm going to give you Ohio State and Oregon. They've already met this year. Oregon, number one seed all year long. Number 2, they haven't varied much. They've stayed undefeated. Ohio State, coming off that loss against Michigan, pounded Tennessee as Chip Chirimbes' first-round game of the year. And I was very happy to see that happen. And they have Ohio State the favorite here, and certainly the lower seed. Did that raise an eyebrow? And we used to say that in the office. When Jim Feist raised an eyebrow, just stand back and listen.
Well, the seeding is awful. Okay, right. I'm glad we have 12 teams. It makes it more exciting, gets more student bodies involved, more talk about instead of 2 or 4 teams. I like this. It's exciting. And I hope they settle down with the portal and the nil and get all that garbage, put together. But Ohio State they've got a lot of talent. Yeah, the Michigan loss, you got to kind of throw stuff out. Long season, people make mistakes. They have a bad day here and there. We all know that. But the first game was the tell here for me. It's like a poker game. Right. We saw it. They moved up and down the field. There's not going to be anything to stop anybody here. They're going to move up and down the field. I like Ohio State, and I like the over. The yards per play situation is going to come to pass in this game, and that's why I believe Ohio State will win the game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I do think there's going to be a lot of points, just like the first game.
All right, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Scott, both teams 7-6 against the number. What are your thoughts about? I mean, I was kind of surprised that Ohio State opened the favorite. I mean, they'd already lost to this team, and was the impact or the impression of the way they handled Tennessee so big?
I think that's one of the things. When I handicap a game, I look at anything and everything. But first things first, this is a sentimental moment for me because this game is taking place the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California. It's a neutral site. But this is a game, this is a stadium that I went to back in 1993. My buddy Don Beebe, who plays for the Buffalo Bills, hooked me up for tickets, only to find out my mentor, friend, colleague, and all-around good guy, Chip Chirimbes, was at the game, the Bills Cowboys Super Bowl 93, the Leon Lett 52-17, I think, was the final. I was on the Bills plus the 7, so don't ask me how that turned out. But so I'm looking at this game, and to your question, I'll get to the question eventually. I'd like to foreshadow a little bit. I'm telling you, Ohio State, they are a juggernaut. They will score. They can run. They can pass. They've got the revenge factor. That game earlier in the year on the road was a toss-up, coin toss. They scored 63 points between these two teams in that one game. The total for this game was 55. So I'm on the over. And the thing with Oregon, they've been very consistent offensively the entire season, but defensively, they've been just the opposite, inconsistent, game to game, week to week, play to play. I like over Red Rover. That's my play.
Yeah, well, I have to say, Scott, that game, I was at that game, by the way, what BB did, chasing down Leon Lett with the score 55-10 at the time, showed more heart to me than just about anybody else in the NFL I'd ever seen. And it always became one of my most admired players since that moment.
He won the first ESPY because of that play and was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Imagine that, a losing player, a losing team on the cover of Sports Illustrated. They got shellacked.
55-10 they got beat, I think it was. It was silly. And, I mean, it just shows the kind of heart that he had and pride he had as a player. And I really respected that. I think this game goes over the total as well. I think they're going to, if Ohio State can do anything like they did against Tennessee, they're going to be able to move the ball. And we know Oregon can move the ball. I mean, they score virtually at will. It's been that way all season long. And it's been that way for a generation, at least now, for the Oregon Ducks. They've been high flying ever since Dan Fouts. Or was it Don Fouts that left them? Anyway, regardless, we have one more big one, guys, and I'm liking this one. Hey, don't forget to give us a like out there. We've got some very sharp handicapping minds right here. And go to gamblersworld.net to get their premier plays. They log on every day. Jim Feist and Scott Pritchard, world champion handicappers from Las Vegas, proven winners. These guys put their life on the line every day. It isn't like it's a side job and they have something else. This is what we do. And we do it every day. And we've been doing it every day for years. And that's the test of time, the fact that we've been here that long. All right, Scott, I'm going to come to you first. Notre Dame and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. I'm loving this game myself personally. Here's Georgia, the only team that can beat Texas. And Georgia has some other wins over teams that are in this tournament as well. And yet they didn't get to the championship game, and they didn't even have a bye. I mean, they have to play Notre Dame here. And the Irish opened, I think it was a 1-point favorite. And now I'm seeing Georgia 1.5, 1, maybe 2.
I understand the move on this game. Yes, Notre Dame dominated and overhyped, overrated Indiana team. Congrats. But this is a whole nother level in terms of competition. Georgia beat Texas not once, but twice for a reason. I respect the Bulldogs. I respect proven winners. The thing is, you're talking about a backup quarterback, Stockton, unproven, on the road, big game. Now, he did look good in the second half against Texas. I believe he went 12 for 16, 71 yards, but he did have an INT, so that's pacing 2 INTs per contest. Notre Dame, we have to look at strength of schedule, to Jim's point, and he's world-class and kicking ass when he talks about things like that, because you are only as good as the teams that you beat. Not only as good as the teams that you play, but as good as the teams that you beat. Notre Dame has a very good running game. My play on this contest is under. You've got a backup quarterback, so I think that they're going to play it close to the vest. Georgia likes to establish the running game. We already have ascertained that Notre Dame likes to run the ball. So that generally means 3 plays to the right, cloud of dust, 3 plays to the left, cloud of dust, eat the clock, tick tock, tick tock. I'm telling you, under 45.5, that's my play.
I couldn't agree with you more, Sean, really.
Yeah.
But Jim, the Irish come in not only winning, but covering 9 in a row. And if it wasn't for having the worst field goal kicker in the country, 8 for 18 on the year, they would have gotten by Northern Illinois, which won on the last play of the game, a field goal. And they would probably be coming into this tournament ranked number 1. But as it is, they destroyed Indiana, dominating the game, dominating on the ground. And I think a lot of what Scott has said has merit about there's going to be a slugfest out there. I mean, do you see it any differently?
Well, I got to just say what Scott said and just repeat it or say ditto. I mean, it's 100%. I'm on the under as well. You got a backup quarterback in Stockton. We don't know what he's going to be. I mean, yes, he doesn't have any experience. He did throw interception, but they coach these guys up and they're there for a reason. And a program like Georgia doesn't bring in donkeys. I mean, he's a talented guy. And I like the first name, Gunner. That's a great name. But,
really.
We don't know what he's going to be. Replaces Carson Beck, who just had surgery. They dominated Indiana. They were talking about Notre Dame, but this isn't Indiana. This is Georgia. First-class program, national championships, beat Texas twice. You got Riley Leonard on the other side that's going to have to hold up and be able to attack the Georgia defense. So I don't know that that's going to really happen with any great success. So the under to me is really the best play. Now, trying to pick a side in the game, I'm going to probably go with Georgia, because of all the things I just said. But the under is, I think, the best play for sure.
We got a Wayne Gretzky here. We've got a hat trick on the under in this game, Notre Dame and Georgia. That's the only way I can see it. To tell you the truth, it's pretty tough to pick. But if you're looking for a side on this game, it is another game of the year release from Chip Chirimbes, the big game player. Jim, our A play now is 4-0 in the bowls. And we've had a great bowl run, winning 11 of our last 12 releases. So log on, follow the buy links. Premier plays from Scott Pritchard, premier plays from Jim Feist on these bowl games that are up there. We gave you the best we can right here. And now but the real nitty gritty is going to be at gamblersworld.net. So guys, got any final words for this weekend, Scott?
Well, I want to wish Scott some luck with that ticket. I want to see him cash that $33,000 because then he's probably going to buy me lunch. I know it.
Well, he's not. Now, Paul was my other new best friend. This is my real best friend right now. And we'll be rooting for Denver. That's for sure, Scott.
Well, I appreciate the support. And it's funny because I oftentimes will buy friends lunch, but no one ever returns the favor. And I think it's because they see how I eat and how much money I spend at lunch. But I want to back up to Jim's point because he talked about Gunner Stockton. What a great name, right?
Yeah.
For an athlete. Gunner, great name for football, not for basketball.
Well, there you go. Listen, Chip Chirimbes, Scott Pritchard, and Jim Feist saying, I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with more. This is our college edition for gamblersworld.net. And remember, as they say in the Gamblers World, that bet with your head and not over it, and make some wise decisions out there. Don't force it. Good luck, everyone. Have a happy new year and be safe.
Thanks, everybody.